welcome to Let's Connect on 88.5 Super FM. Good night to you. It is a wonderful Tuesday evening, Tuesday night. My name is Reniata D'Souza. I am your host for tonight. And joining me, not in studio, but live from her home is Miss Senator Lisa C. Jawahir, who is the communications officer for the St. Lucia Labour Party, and she'll be joining us in just a couple of minutes. I just want to do our usual pre-show shout outs. I want to invite those of you who have already joined us on our live link to send in your location so that we can give you a shout out. And in the meantime, we want to shout out the communities of Soufre. If you are listening from New Development, we want to say good night to you. Good night to all those of you at Palmis. Hope that you're having a wonderful night. Down in Fort Benye, good night to you guys in Crestland. Good night to Zeno. Special good night to all the communities of Fort Jacques, including Mocha, Mini, and St. Philip. Good night to you guys in Espérance. We want to say good night to Boisden and good night to Belfort. If you are in Itangs, good night to you. We want to say special good night to Diamond and all the folks up there in Diamond. Good night to you, Miss Ofin in Diamond, hoping that you're having a wonderful night tonight. Good night to those of you at Myers Bridge. If you're at Fongelib, special good night to you guys in Mont Lacroix. We want to say good night to Sulphur Springs as well as to Magretut. And if you are in Chateau Bel, hope that you're having a great night as well. Those of you at Bouton, special good night to you guys. And in Barons Drive, Town Center, including Boulevard Street, High Street, Church Street, Wingsville, and Market Road, good night to all of you. We want to say good night to all our usual listeners, those of you tuned in from overseas as well. Good night to you guys. We want to say good night to those of you in Barons Drive once again because we have quite a few loyal listeners there in Barons Drive. Good night, good night, good night. We want to say good night to those of you once again joining from the region and from overseas. Good night to Miss Fancy Bowens, always tuned in, always locked from St. Vincent. Good night to you. If you are on our live, once again, we invite you to send a message, send a shout out, send your location so we can give you a shout out. But like I said earlier in the program, we're being joined tonight by Senator Lisa Jawahir, who is the communications officer for the St. Lucia Labour Party. So any questions you have regarding St. Lucia Labour Party and their contributions to us in Soufre, their contributions to the south of the island, contributions to the entire island of St. Lucia, you can send tonight so that they can be answered by the right individual. Also, if you have any questions regarding today's contributions in Parliament, I did catch some of it. I did catch Honorable Emma Hippolyte's statement where she did make a contribution regarding the possibility of feminine hygiene products being added to the price control list. And that is something we hopefully will hear from Lisa Joari tonight about. I'm not sure if she can hear me. She's locked on. Can you hear me?
Good night.
Hi, good night.
Thank
Welcome to Let's
you.
Connect.
Hi, Renata. Good night. Good night to your viewers and listeners. It's my first time
Yes,
on this
welcome.
station. I don't know why it took you so long to invite me.
I apologize for that. That is my bad, and I shall remedy that in the future. Your invitation is always open whenever you want. You can come on our program. We would love to have you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you're coming straight from Parliament, so I do appreciate you being here with us for the hour. Thank you once again, and welcome to our Let's Connect program tonight. And I want to hand over to you, and in terms of enlightening our listeners on what the St. Lucia Labour Party government has for us, has in store for us, has coming up for us, especially for us in the south, in Soufre, and hopefully we'll have some questions coming from our viewers so that we can share with you later on in the program.
Thank you again, Renata. It is certainly a pleasure to be here. It's a very interesting time for our government. It's a very interesting time for the parliamentary representative of Soufre to be able to make certain statements in the House of Parliament today. Coming off of the heels of, the 14th year since the St. Jude fire, the 9th of September 2009, the St. Lucia Labour Party has, finally been able to face an organization and secure financing so the St. Jude Hospital will be complete and finally delivered to the people of the South. So Prime Minister Honorable Philip G. Pierre did present the motion today. So St. Lucia would borrow from the Saudi fund 70 an average of 75 million US to be able to facilitate the completion of not just the St. Jude Hospital, but also allowing our people to finally get the George Odlum Stadium back. So the refurbishment of that, the complete rehabilitation of the stadium as well. As we know, after the fire, um, the hospital, not necessarily the building structure, but the staff, the management, administration, and operations moved over to the Viewfort School, to Beanville School. And interestingly, I was at the memorial service on Friday at St. Jude. They hold a memorial service every year since the fire. And I met a lady who actually gave birth after the fire occurred and they were moved into the school. I met a lady who gave birth, and also her 14-year-old daughter, beautiful daughter that she gave birth to, was present. And it really puts things in perspective for me that this was a critical facility that the people of the South continued to use, and, used even to a greater extent back then. Now, there are several conversations that continue to be peddled by the opposition and surrogates of the opposition that there is no need for two hospitals. There's no need for the hospital in the south. But Renata, it's
I beg
something
to
that we
differ. Because I can't imagine having an international airport in the south and not having an hospital. That makes no sense. If something happens, God forbid, at the airport, or an incoming flight has an emergency, you have to travel all the way to the north to help that person. I think
now
that's bad. It doesn't
now
make sense.
that is learned persons, senior officials, whether they have served in capacities of leadership or whether they are at the political level or even in the public service or even in private organizations, persons you would assume to be well respected make such statements. But you are so right. An airplane will not land in Viewport at the international hospital at the international airport if there is no emergency room available or nearby. So after the fire, planes could not land at HIA, and it's not because there was any issue per se at the airport, but it was because there was no emergency room for planes to land. And if we have to redirect flights, some flights had to go to Barbados, some went to other countries, some were cancelled. That is revenue. That's a loss for us as it relates to what economic activity would be like with visitors coming to our country. And that is why immediately um, during the time of the fire, the staff, they were very quick on their feet to move their operations to the school. And so they were able to establish an emergency room there. And flights were able to continue coming into St. Lucia. So this conversation that is being peddled all of a sudden, much to my surprise, because admittedly, we have had SLP administration in there, and the hospital was not able to complete because at that time we were experiencing, the trough and the financial crisis, and of course during the time of a UWP administration, twice over a UWP administration, nobody at the time was ever singing any song that there was no need for a hospital. But all of a sudden, a Philip JP administration has been able to secure financing, not too long after the Saudi visit to St. Lucia, and able to deliver to the people an interest rate, a loan with an interest rate of 2%. And the part about it that I have to say I appreciate very much, Renata, is the fact that if there is a natural disaster, or God forbid, something else happen, like another St. Jude debacle, God forbid, you are able to defer your payment on that loan. So there's a what we call a climate cause, that these natural disasters, anything that can be caused due to climate change. St. Lucians would not have to be trying to figure out how we're going to make ends meet and pay that loan when we have people to feed, when we have a crisis on our hands. The payments would be deferred. So that encountered some debate. And obviously, the leader of the opposition, whom we haven't seen for months, managed to come to Parliament today. I noticed that the parliamentary representative for Shazelle Saltabas was absent. And so the leader of the opposition was there, and he always takes this opportunity to try to pander to the cameras, like a celebrity that has been quiet for some time and now want to make, a fresh case and some, like, show
Yes,
as if,
to make sure he gets all as
fresh on
much
the
camera time
blood.
as in the day as possible. Interact sorts
Exactly.
of things.
And so he came through and he spoke and he said a few things, but you would realize that every single parliamentary representative who spoke after him, or even the member of parliament for Viewford North, the minister for health, he adopted a posture of focusing on the value of the loan and why this facility is different, because governments have been struggling to try to secure the financing, but Philip J. Pierre was able to do so. And so the difference is this SLP administration was able to do that. And of course, an organization to have faith in your country, they have to look at your economic growth, your economic factors. We know Honorable Philip J. Pierre's administration, our government has experienced an 18.1% growth in the economy. And so all of these factors make our country look good when we are approaching other facilities and other countries for financial support. So we are able to do that. And we have a double whammy where we can return the sports facility in a much better condition to the people of the South.
And
The
I'm sure
South
that's very much appreciated.
serves exactly, and the South serves 50,000 people. It's not just 4,000 people from a Denry South or 9,000. It's 50,000 persons. And for us to say that they do not deserve a hospital, or they have to travel all the way to Castries or make the whole around to Soufriere, I believe it's unfair to them. And so the government is very confident. We saw a video emerge from the office of the Prime Minister a few days ago, and we saw the walls were painted in white. A lot of the structure looks good. The contractor CIE has been on the ground. The place looks so much better. And we know what the history of that St. Jude project was, where it was 80% complete, and the former administration came in and decided to not continue with that. So that was one thing that we dealt with in Parliament today. And it took them several hours, Renata?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they expected to be there that long. But sometimes when you are speaking to people, it's your responsibility to be able to debunk some lies that are peddled in the public sphere.
I
And so
agree.
it was very important for our ministers to speak on that loan.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you because that is one of the few opportunities where you know that a good amount of persons are paying attention and the right people will hear the right information and therefore the right information will be spread. Because sometimes you really need to get the lies out of the way because it seems the lies spread faster than the truth.
It is so very true, and we know that. We know that very, very well. Now, if we could move a little quickly to the big news, that the parliamentary representative, your parliamentary rep, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, made mention of. It was much to my surprise,
Wow.
because I
90% to
remember.
155% had
Let
me.
me tell
My
you.
eyes were wide open for a good 5 minutes when
Well,
I heard
I
that.
was not surprised because I had witnessed this.
Mhm,
But when the statistics came forward that this is something that was so prevalent across the country, I
mhm.
had to shake my head, because I remember clearly in 2020 when I debated the it was the UWP was passing the VAT removal on barrels, and they wanted to remove VAT on lights and toys, and they wanted to remove VAT on things that I believe at a critical point in time were not necessary, that they could have waited. And then I remember that Sweden had passed their legislation to have VAT free on sanitary products because it was not affordable. Now, this is something I can personally relate to growing up in a community, from a disenfranchised home, a community that, doesn't have persons from the upper class, but really persons who were sent to school on bananas. And a packet of pads at the time, if we're having this conversation, was 4.98 or 4.99. But let me tell you, people could not afford it then. And so some of the girls in my class, some of my friends, they would have to use tissue paper, or they would have to use cloth, they would have to use newspaper. And the times that they did not have that, they missed out on school. So when I raised this issue in 2020, it was not just because Sweden did it, but it was because it was still a reality in our era, 2020. But the United Workers' Party laughed and said, "What is period poverty? You're seeing things on TV, you want to do it here too." And that's a clear example of people who are not able to relate to the average man and woman who is struggling and really cannot even afford the pads when it was 4.98. So then now a packet of pads would probably have been maybe about $14-15. The government and the prime minister, I really want to applaud him for doing that. Things were tight. The government was doing its best to provide incentives and subsidizing fuel, subsidizing flour, subsidizing many goods and services so they could be more affordable to the people of St. Lucia. And so the prime minister and the cabinet of ministers, they came into the house, and VAT was removed on sanitary products for a period of 2 years. Renata, the VAT that is 12.5%. If I have to open up my phone and calculate it so the people of Sufra can understand what I am saying, let's say the packet of pads was $20, and the 12.5%, you minus that. Are you there?
I'm listening to you.
Yes. You minus that. You take out like almost $3 or $4. But you're telling me that some businesses, after the VAT was removed by the government, they left the price, and the price of the product near tripled on the shelf. And when people took those pictures and they posted it on social media, people are saying that these people were exaggerating. I witnessed it for myself, where there was a particular brand of sanitary napkins that was under $15, and it was very close to 35 EC dollars.
Yes.
This is not a joke, and people do not make these things up. And so obviously the ministers of cabinet would realize that, you know what, this is ridiculous at this point. And when the minister spoke that, very soon St. Lucians can look forward to the day when we can come to the house and completely put those items on price as price control goods, I was shocked. I was shocked, to be honest with you, that somebody was actually making a move towards that, and the SLP administration was bold enough to say it. Now, that says a lot. When people say these things don't reach the average person, I can tell you it changes the lives. Because I was coming up from Miku this evening, as well. And one of the things I listened to the prime minister still on the radio whilst I was listening. The prime minister said to parliament that there are mothers, or there are people who have to choose between putting groceries in the house, or buying groceries, whether it be a pound of rice and a tin of tuna fish, or buying a packet of pads.
Right, it becomes a non-necessity to some people at that point, because you have to eat, you have to feed your kids, and you might as well find a piece of cloth or even newspaper or whatever you have to find and use it, and then buy something to eat instead.
And that is not even healthy, because having these sorts of products in certain areas of our body, they
That's right.
can create opportunities for
For bacteria.
infections, and
Right.
bacteria can dwell there. That is not healthy, and the complications further down, when you have to go to the doctor, you end up paying $300-400, do a test, get some antibiotics. whereas you can have a proper sanitary napkin to use. And what I really want to applaud our members of parliament for is that each and every one of them, when they do their Christmas distributions, their back to school distributions, they include sanitary products. Honorable Kenson Casimir from Grozile, this was his second year where he was distributing sanitary products. I remember the last year he was giving it during Christmas time. And this year he actually went to all the schools, the secondary school, the primary schools in his constituency and distributed care packages. And
I
the parliamentary
yes.
representatives, they make that a priority because they understand what that means. Like people like Honorable Casimir, who grew up in a single parent home, where his mother was a vendor, where his mother had to work as a vendor at Grocery Friday nights, sell her cakes, also go to clean people's houses up in Cap Estate. How do you think that these people could afford that $35 packet of pads?
I can't, and not just to say you buying it once, Sometimes you need more than one, or
Mhm.
you need to buy. Depending on your cycle, you might have to buy it multiple times for the month.
Or
So
if you have polycystic ovaries and
there you
these
go.
sort of
Different
complications.
reasons you might have to, or you might need a special kind. And if you cannot afford it, you have to settle for others that might not just cause more of a mess for you. It's something that it's you. I don't know if it's because some men probably don't understand, because I did hear a comment today that Honorable Emma Hippolyte is should be menopausal. She shouldn't be worrying about that. But then we have
Really?
sisters, we have aunts, we have goddaughters, we have relatives, we have neighbors that are
Of
female and
course.
have these issues. We have to be concerned about it. So
Exactly.
it's wonderful that the cabinet of ministers have taken this into consideration, and I'm so happy to hear it. Really, I am, because I have a friend who works at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, and she has started up a pantry where she's getting donations of items such as these, such as sanitary napkins, panty shields, even deodorant, different items that for
Hmm.
students who come to school and cannot afford these things.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's such a reality, and I'm so happy that I did catch the clip of Kenson distributing in his
Okay.
constituency. And I
Okay.
remember even when I entered convent in Form 1, that was something
Mhm.
we were encouraged to do, to have a care package in our bags, because
Yeah.
these are the type of things we have to teach girls,
Mm-hmm.
because you never
Mm-hmm.
know what's going to happen. So it's wonderful that it's something that we can see that yes, our ministers care. They
Yeah.
definitely care.
Now, I'm really happy that Honorable Emma Hippolyte spoke of that, not just as a female, but in her capacity as Minister with responsibility for commerce and speaking on those issues and making those bold statements. I really want to applaud her. And of course, we all stand behind her because these are serious times. I mean, we have absolutely no control over the price of certain products because we don't manufacture them in St. Lucia. The same way we don't produce oil, the same way we don't produce wheat and cereals. And yes, people are complaining about the price of cereals, but really and truly, we cannot control these things because we don't produce them locally. If you remember, there was a time where imported goods were so much more cheaper than the local goods that there was a time people would prefer to go to the supermarket than to go by the Castries market to buy their provisions. Now the Castries market is filled with people. You can't even find a place for you to walk because the market goods are less expensive.
And I still find when I go to buy the market, the goods are even more expensive than I remember. But it's
But
better
still
to
affordable. And when the
it's
price
better
is
to buy that to
ridiculous.
buy a plate of food for $25 a day. Then
Hmm.
it's cheaper to take that same $25 and buy your groceries and cook something. So it's a different time we're living in right now.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. But Renata, if we could come a little closer to home in Soufre, there are a lot of things that I see your parliamentary rep does. I think she always calling my phone, Elisa, today we are doing this, tomorrow we are doing that. And I heard that y'all are starting the Palmis roofing project tomorrow.
Yes, we are.
And it will be in two parts where I think tomorrow they're going to focus on replacing leaking galvanized sheets and rotten lumber in 80 homes. that's on the right side of Palmis, in 80 homes.
That's right.
80 homes are
It's a
going to
big
get
project, and
repaired.
I'm certain the people of Palmis are well happy with Honorable Emma Hippolyte right now. They're ecstatic.
Mhm.
So, and you'll still hear people. I saw some of the comments under the Parliament Live this morning saying, "What is Emma doing for Soufre?" And I'm saying, really, really.
The Sufra people know what Honorable Hippolyte is doing, and she's very consistent. She's very consistent when she provides the support to the single mothers. I know she's done work for the fishers. I know she's done work for the farmers. These are things that people who actually encounter the parliamentary rep, they are able to tell that story, because sometimes people look to social media to be able to tell them what a parliamentary representative is doing. And I've always said it is absolutely important for a parliamentary representative to show the people of their constituency and, of course, the country that they are working. But every single thing a parliamentary representative does, it is not necessarily posted on Facebook. And then people wonder, how did that person win the election? Because that person is on the ground.
They're touching
Honorable Hippolyte is on the exactly.
touching lives does not mean showcasing on the internet, although most of it is shown on the internet, but not every single thing. You cannot show every single child out of the 800 children that got back to school assistance. You will not be able to show all 800 children with a new school
Exactly.
shoe or a new bag that was purchased because of the contribution from the rep. You'll not be able to see that. But then it happened.
And that is another thing too, where people expect to see these things because they want to know what's going on, and I agree and I understand. But sometimes you have to protect other persons, because it takes a lot. And I had an example recently where somebody met me, and I'm not the parliamentary rep for the constituency that I'm from, but that person had to muster so much courage to ask for assistance to buy cooking gas. And
Mhm.
I'm saying this is a gentleman who believes that he should be the provider of his home, but he lost his job. And so it's taking so much for him to come to a parliamentary representative. And I think, when you are called to serve people, when God calls you to serve, you don't have to put all of these things out there. You don't have to mention people's names every time like that, or show them that you're giving them an envelope, or show inside of their house. And you have to be mindful and you have to be caring. But at the end of the day, Honorable Emma Hippolyte knows what she's doing. So forever big port redevelopment project coming up.
That's
A
right.
big
Telling
redevelopment
them.
project.
And so I think it's only when they see it happening that they'll believe it's coming. But it's coming.
Yeah, Global Ports
Global
Holdings
Fund Holding,
signed
yeah.
an agreement with the government of St. Lucia to redevelop the Castries waterfront, Banans Bay, and Sofra. Sofra is the tourism mecca of our country. And can you imagine what the final product at the Sofra waterfront will look like? It's not just a matter of employing hundreds of persons for the redevelopment. It's a situation where hundreds more will be gainfully employed, because more tours will be created, more services will be created, more restaurants will open up. There'll be the need for plumbers, there'll be the need for maintenance persons, there'll be the need for electricians, more services for the people of Soufrière for Saint Jacques to have greater opportunities as it relates to employment. And so, I am not going to say that I'm jealous, really, because I really love Soufrière. Every time I come down to Soufrière,
You can always move
you
to
know,
we could welcome you.
I love it. It is just so beautiful, so scenic, so relaxing.
After
And
the waterfront is done, that's going to be a big uplift
I
in
will
terms
have
of
to I will
beautification
have
of
to
the
I
road.
will have to come and move in with you, Renata, for
Not
me
a
to
problem. I'm
be able
planning to
to
build a whole villa, so all of you can just come and live on my compound.
gorgeous.
Invite Honorable Hile. I already told him I have a room for him. So tourism central, Sufre. We ready for
Tourism Central. I love it. And it creates opportunities for young people like you to be able to start your own business. Because, and if I'm a young person from Sufre, There are opportunities such as the youth economy that I would take advantage of now to prepare me to offer a service. Because when you really close your eyes, Renata, for a moment and you think about a complete transformation of the Soufre waterfront, you cannot come there with your little wooden tray and you know that it's damaged, it have nails sticking out. What you will want
We
to
have a
do
first
is
class kiosk.
you would want to upgrade so that your service can fall right in line with the clientele that you're going to expect. So whereas you would normally have your nice little tray and yes, the nail sticking out, you walk over to the chaussee, or you can call them, or you can go onto youtheconomy.lc, and you see all the nice programs that they have, the skill development programs. They offer training and mentorship in the areas that you would like. You get grant support. You, as a young person, can now feel proud of your business. You can now paint your tray, so the nails are not jutting out. You can now even put a label on your products. If you're selling your little tamarind, you can package your products properly, that when these people come to Soufre and they purchase your products, it will not spoil as soon as they reach on the boat, but it will be packaged in a way that they can take back home. Other people from the country see your product, your phone number is on there, your website is on there. They start to place orders. The next thing you know, we have to now have to set up trainings for you at Export St. Lucia because your product is in demand.
Yeah,
That
you
is what
have
the SLP
international
want.
marketing. So you have to be able to meet the marketing demands and the international standards. So yeah, we have to take advantage of the training now so that you'll be ready for it when when
Exactly. And that is what the Labour Party wants. Honorable Philip J. Pierre wants to create opportunities. He wants to empower. You think people like the fact that every time you have to come to them for $5, $10? It's easier if I can teach you how to fish, Renata. And when you need, something, some assistance that you really cannot afford, then you can come to me as a parliamentary representative. I can better assist, but at least you have your dignity. You are empowered. You are able to take care of your family with your skill or with your trade. So I want to encourage the people of Soufre for Jacques. Take advantage of the youth economy. Don't think because you are in Soufre that that is for castrice people. The Prime Minister has announced that at some point we will see an extension facility in the south where it can at least be closer to you. But in the meantime, and I know the Youth Economy Office, they make their rounds around the country. They do various training forums and they partner with Ministry of Commerce and other entities to bring the programs to the people. Take advantage of it.
in
Empower
this age of
yourself.
technology, we have a lot of virtual training taking place as well. So you don't even have to travel anywhere to get and to take advantage of these training opportunities most of the time.
Exactly. And there are also opportunities with the Ministry of Commerce, medium sized businesses, and the government has facilities through the Solution Development Bank where finance is now easily accessible as opposed to the past where things were so very difficult. And with the youth economy, you get grants facilities, you get part grant, part loan facilities. I'm telling you, when I left Sir Arthur Lewis, I had an idea of something that I really wanted to do, but I didn't have the money to fund it. And a year later, somebody else came and did exactly what I thought. And yes, it broke me for a little while because I really thought my idea was unique, but I didn't have the opportunity because I needed to have a savings account at a bank for 2 years, a credit line show I have a good credit score for bank for 2 years. And I just came from South Africa where I get in that. And I came from a family where we don't even have these things. And I'm just one out of thousands of other persons who go through or who have gone through the same circumstances. But you can come straight from South and have a business idea, go straight to the youth economy and get support and you can have your business going. Let me tell you, it is just life changing. And I'm not old, or I'm not very, very old or as senior, but I wish some of these facilities existed when I was growing up because maybe I would have been in a better position to take advantage of them earlier. You understand? And so the young people now, I can see, don't have an excuse because the resources are there in Atta, and it's really an opportunity for them to jump on it and take advantage of it and be able to. I mean, the sky is truly the limit. Whatever your skill set is, whatever hobbies you have, whatever you are passionate about, we are not talking about the same jobs that people go into all the time, who want to be secretary, who want to work in a bank, who want to be a lawyer. All these occupations are all well and good, but if you have an idea that is unique, that has never been done before, you should walk to the youth economy. You should visit their website, youtheconomy.lc, and take advantage of that.
Yes, that's right. And for persons, we still offer assistance with doing the applications at the Suffolk constituency office. So
Very
if
good.
you do not have a computer, if you do not have access, although we do have the access center in Suffolk, but if you would prefer to get hands-on assistance, we still offer assistance to persons who want to apply for youth economy grants. And if you need any explanations, if anything is confusing to you, we also do that as well. So don't keep yourself behind because you don't understand or you don't have a computer or you don't have internet at home. These are not excuses at this point.
I
We have
agree.
all the facilities, all the resources there to assist you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so for those of you who joined us late, once again, we have with us Senator Lisa Jawahir, who is the communications officer for the St. Lucia Labour Party government. And we have a few persons in our chat room. I'm just making sure we don't have any questions, but we want to give a shout out to those of you who have sent in comments so far. We want to say good night to you, Miss Christy Boo Henry. Good night to you, Caroline Bob. Good night, Cheryl William. Good night, Philomena Lamontine. Good night, Clisha Strawn. Good night to you all, and welcome to our Let's Connect program on 88.5 Super FM. If you have any questions regarding tonight's program so far, please don't hesitate to send it in. And we want to encourage persons once again to take advantage of the facilities offered by the St. Lucia Labour Party government, especially for the youth, especially for upcoming potential entrepreneurs, young business persons, persons who maybe already have an idea of what they want to do. We encourage you to try and get that idea off the ground now because there are opportunities coming, especially with the Global Ports Holding Project for the waterfront, which will be bringing in lots of jobs, lots of opportunities.
Indeed. I couldn't have said it any better, Renata.
All right. So, Lisa, while I have you, I know I didn't listen to the entire presentation today, but I know persons have been asking what is going to be coming in the south. We've spoken about the hospital, which we are so overjoyed is going to finally be getting off the ground. We are so happy that Honorable Philip J. Pierre has been able to successfully get the funding and that we will be getting not only the hospital but we'll be getting the stadium for our wonderful sports is what reigns in the south, so
Mm-hmm.
we're so happy that's going to happen. But in terms of the other developments,
Mm-hmm.
especially in terms of the infrastructure and roads, do
Mm-hmm.
you have any updates that we can share regarding development of the roads? We have a lot of terrible road situations.
Yeah, well, I know that the potholing crew has been around the island doing their works. A couple months ago, I know that they were on the Sufra side coming up to Ancillary. But of course, we did experience a lot of rain. We were spared the hurricanes, two hurricanes recently. And, that did bring a lot of rain, and a lot of work had to be on a halt, a temporary halt, well, a pause. But we do anticipate that some remedial works will continue. Um, as it relates to the south, I know there are more rooms being built as it relates to the hotels in the south. The minister for tourism did speak of a development in Shabisha and another one in Canals, that very soon the people of St. Lucia will hear more about that. That's in the south. I know that work will continue on the police station, the Southern Police, the divisional headquarters. So the construction of the Grand Hyatt in Sabusha Choiseul will continue this fiscal year. Now, the Prime Minister did say that in his budget address, and the development will boast 345 rooms. Now, again, Renata, let's think about this again. A similar situation to the Global Ports Holding. There needs to be construction of these hotels, but employment does not cease at the completion of construction. There's maintenance, there's operations. And so all of these things contribute to creating more job opportunities for people in the South. Yes, work will commence on the St. Jude Hospital. The people of St. Lucia will have the St. Jude Hospital. The people of St. Lucia, of Viewfort, well, of the South, will have their stadium back. I did mention repairs are expected to be complete on the Viewfort Police Divisional Headquarters. I know some of this work has already commenced. I know that there are a lot of questions about the financial center. These things are underway. The Prime Minister did speak of several services that he would really want to see come down to the people of the South, because I know it is challenging for them to come up to Castries.
Especially when you think of like the passport services and birth certificates, these type of services.
Yes, yes, yes. And so, it's tough. It's tough to manage. Sometimes you call and you may not get through because maybe they are on the phone, and you would take your bus and then you would come down, and when you come down, it is not ready, and that, I mean, the cost of transportation, taking the bus from the south to the north is one factor. The time, the distance is another factor. So to be able to have those services in the south, I think that's remarkable. We are aware of improvements that will continue that will continue on, Dennery and Viewfort as it relates to the fishing facilities. We know some of those facilities are undergoing repair. I know that the Ministry of Health is working towards the refurbishment of the Sufre Health Center, Renata. Also the refurbishment of the Larisus Health Center. I know these are things that are coming, especially for the people in the south. And as we know, most of the social programs that are in place are not just for the people in the north. In Ancillary, there was the announcement of over 100 low-cost lots and houses. That's in Masqué for a social housing program. Um, so a lot of these things continue to roll out as the government is able to deliver to the people of St. Lucia. And the social programs, as I mentioned, do not just impact people who are living in the north, they impact people all across. I know that there are plans. The plans will continue for the construction of the Sufre Hospital. um, and so I think you, Reniata, just not in might call Sufria City,
Oh
because y'all
yes,
have
we will have
hospital,
to
y'all
give us
have
back the capital.
y'all
We're
have
ready.
yeah, y'all have ports. The south will have a construction of the administrative complex will happen, but y'all have a port, y'all have health center, y'all will have your hospital.
We
I
already
mean,
have a stadium, so
you have the
we almost there.
stadium.
We just need a
I
few
know you.
upgrades.
I know you will have an amphitheater as part of the redevelopment of the port as well.
Yes,
So far, it's going to be a little place of its own,
it's
a little
already a
place of its
spice of
own.
paradise, so we're just making it a little better. So you're
Yeah.
gonna hand over the capital title back to us, in short order.
Well, I'm not going to enter into that debate, but I know that also land has been identified in the south for some persons who the resettlement of some of the Viewfort residents. I know there were some spots that government was looking into. They were looking into as it relates to relocating some persons who were on land that would be used for other causes. So I'm really excited to see that as many persons are benefiting from these initiatives. It's not just one class of people or one group of people or people from one industry, because oftentimes they've said everything is tourism, 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 but tourism makes up 60% of our GDP. Another great part of our GDP is the services that we offer, manufacturing. And agriculture is on the boom. Our Minister for Agriculture is doing so much. So we certainly have a lot to look forward to, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that some of these services will be extended to not just Sufra, but the people in the south generally.
We have a comment saying that Sufra has a hospital, not health center, but actually Sufra has several health centers. We
Yes,
have
they
the one in Itangs, we have in Mogush, we have other health centers, but I do believe Senator Jawahir was referring to the Sufra Hospital for refurbishment.
yes, correct, yeah.
Okay. Any other comments in our chat? We want to encourage those of you listening while you have Senator Jawari here. This is your time to ask questions as it relates to the prospects. Okay. Someone is saying farming should come back as the number one in the GDP. Any comments on that? I know we have been assisting the farmers in Foster Jack in terms of, I know Honorable Emma Hippolyte did give out fertilizer to
Mhm.
our farmers and she has met with them several times. So there's quite a lot of enhancements going on with the farmers. So definitely we see an uptick in the farming. Like Lisa said earlier, now persons are relying more on the farmers and the market
Mhm.
than the supermarket. So for sure, we're definitely going to see an uptick in that.
Yeah, it's a personal bias for me because my dad did a lot of farming. He was a security officer, but when he was not on his security shift, he was a farmer. And I remember we used to plant cucumbers, we used to plant tomatoes, we used to plant pumpkins, and he would have to fill up those sacks. And I would go with him to marketing board in town for him to sell his produce. And that's how we were able to go to school. Working that job and well, working those two jobs, that's how I was able to go to school. So when I look at the opportunities that we have, the rich fertile soil that we have, the opportunities as it relates to the advancement in technology, where farming is concerned, some persons may not necessarily want to get their nails dirty or their knees down into the ground.
Soap
But
and water not
there's
vex with anybody, eh?
pardon.
Soap and water is not vexed with anybody.
Indeed, yes, but there are other ways, to achieve more with less, with the improvement in processes, and as you see, the world is doing as much as it can to eliminate a lot of manufacturing stages of production, which they believe can minimize the impact of disasters like climate change. And so, for example, you would probably use fertilizers to plant your little garden. And we remember in school they teach us that the fertilizer is washed. When it's washed, it goes into the river. From the river it goes into the ocean, and it contaminates the ocean. Fish die as a result. Some of these things are able to be manufactured right into a lab, and they are able to have greenhouses that don't have any soil whatsoever, so you don't need to add other nutrients to the soil. You can add it directly to the water that you feed the plants. Let me tell you, the advancements are there. And
Yeah.
I know
Incredible
that.
technology now, especially there's organic fertilizer. There's
Yes,
yeah.
there's a lot of agro processing and these different things that are coming out that are surprisingly even more effective than the average farming, because it requires less manpower, less labor. We are seeing those advancements as well. What I would love to see is the value added, the time that we can explore a bit more on the value added, that we are not just we are not just planting the dashing and eating the dashing, but we take it further, and it's already happening, but I'm just giving it as an example, where we have the dashing
Well, it's
chips
not happening
or we
here
have the
because the
dashing
dashing chips are being
flour.
made in Trinidad, right?
But guess what, there are some people who are doing the local bites. A young man from the Denry
Yes. He has
community,
dashing. I know. I think he has breadfruit chips.
he has
He has
breadfruit
dashing
chips,
chips.
he have toothbagay, he have all kind
I have
of chips.
tasted some of the local bites, and the chips are really nice. The salsa, the
Really,
mango salsa. It's a mango salsa, right? He has a salsa. I
yes,
like
different
salsa.
ones, yes.
Yes. But local people, like you said, persons, and he's one of those persons who was also a beneficiary of the youth economy. So
Yes,
we're encouraging our young people to take advantage of these opportunities because there are
exactly.
avenues for you. Because
Mhm.
that business, I can see it going global.
And he is
Yeah.
very, motivated and passionate, and he's at all sporting events, and he's making his connections. And my point to that, Renata, is the dashing might be, $5, but the process, the flour, the dashing flour can
The
sell on
oil.
an international market for $15-20, or even 15-20 US. So the value added on the products that we can grow locally can really bring that currency home, can really stimulate the economy. So I'd really love to see. I don't know how long it's going to take us to see agriculture neck on neck with tourism, but I do believe that COVID taught us the biggest lesson, and that is to diversify. And so more effort is being placed. I realize every week the Ministry of Agriculture is sending some updates. Just 2 days ago, I saw something from them. So it certainly means that our minister, Honorable Stabach, well, Alfred Stabach Prosper, is exploring opportunities. So perhaps one day we can get neck and neck. But the goal is that we remain competitive and we have those opportunities in St. Lucia. I don't know that people in St. Lucia are really suffering to an extent, I would say, from not being able to pick an orange or a mango. Like, and my point is because we have the food here. We have the food in our country. There are some Caribbean islands, the truth be told, I visited one just a few weeks ago. They are importing agricultural products from another Caribbean island. They're not doing it on their island, and they have fertile soil. And
Mhm.
it's more expensive for them. But we are blessed, thank God, with rich, fertile land that we're able to use those hands and be able to plant and reap the rewards and reap the benefits and reap our produce. So we have the opportunities in St. Lucia, I believe, Renata, so that we can continue to diversify and we add value to the economy.
I want to encourage, well, on that note, I want to encourage our young persons to look into agriculture. Because if you notice, I don't know if anybody has ever driven to Fort Jack and look at the farming communities. Look at how nice the houses are. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
have to say. Don't think that there's no money in farming. There's money in farming, okay? You just have to be willing to get your hands dirty, like Lisa said. And the opportunities are there. Look, we have a comment saying that Exports and Lucia is looking for 2,000 pounds of dashing.
Wow.
Guys, please don't sit on your laurels. There's wonderful opportunities. Our ground is rich and fertile, and our dashing is some of the best dashing. If you see, we can get an opportunity to have dashing chips and dashing flour and
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of things going all the way to the states or to England or anywhere else. This is the time to start looking into agriculture as a viable livelihood.
Exactly, exactly.
We have a question. How can the public get access to those notices from the Ministry of Agriculture? I do know that their Facebook page is very active. Also, the government has a website with access to the various ministries. But if you have any other avenues where they can get that information, Senator?
Yes, well, definitely, like you mentioned, because it has to be on their websites, and it has to be on the Government of St. Lucia website, govt.lc. But remember, there are various agricultural officers and offices across the country. So, Renata, at some point, what we're going to do is get the information so you can share with your viewers that they could know who the agricultural officer is in their area and where the agricultural office is,
The
and they can
agriculture
walk in
office for
and have.
Sufre is located at Myers Bridge in Sufre.
There
It's
you go.
right there on the main road. So if you need directions to it, I think I do have a contact number somewhere. If you need the information, you can check us out at the Suffolk constituency office. We will be able to get that information for you.
Yeah, maybe it's an opportunity for them to come onto the show as well, since
See if I
people are
can
really
get
interested in that.
the chief agricultural officer for Sufre. I'll see if I can get them to come on to give us
Mm.
an update as to what's happening in terms of agriculture, especially for Sufre and the south. So I'll try and see, hopefully for next week, if I can. That's not a promise, but I will try to see if I can get somebody from agriculture to be on our show next week, Tuesday.
Very good, very good. So yes, the govt.lc, Government of St. Lucia. And if you don't remember the website offhand, you can just put it in your browser on Google. Just type Government of St. Lucia, or you just type Ministry of Agriculture St. Lucia. I guarantee you, in the top three items, it will be either their Facebook page or their website. They have refurbished their Facebook page and their website. They have a really nice website. The information there is very current. I know they're hardworking communications officers in the Ministry of Agriculture, and the fact that I get their updates all the time is because I go onto their page and I click like and I click follow. So
Yeah.
whenever I'm on Facebook and I have the notifications, they come straight to my phone. Wherever I am, I get the notifications. So it's that easy.
So people remember Google is not just for searching for Shein. You can search for things like agriculture, government, St. Lucia, type those words in, and it will direct you. Google is not just for finding videos and for finding TikTok and for finding Shein. There are other uses for the internet. So anything you're interested in, you can Google. Google is my friend. YouTube is your friend. There's such a thing as YouTube University. Anything you need to learn, you can find it. So don't be afraid. If you cannot remember, even if you spell it wrong, they will still ask you, did you mean this? So take the chance. Use your phones for things other than TikTok and Shein. Okay, we want to
Yeah,
encourage that.
the information is certainly there. That's what I really like the information is there, and I'm really happy that people are showing an interest and they're actually asking those questions because they may not know where to go, but when we show them where to go, then they are able to at least follow through and get the answers themselves. So we will definitely share a list of the agricultural officers and offices across the constituencies that hopefully you can share on your show so that the people of the South will have more information on how they can take advantage of these services.
That's right. And also, we want to encourage persons to follow the Sufre Constituency Group Facebook page. There are usually updates on everything occurring within the community of Sufre. Once we get the updates, we typically post it. So please like and follow the page so that you can get the notifications. And also, all the various government agencies, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Agriculture, all the various ministries, you can do the same and you'll get updates directly, or you can follow the government of St. Lucia's Facebook page and they typically update as well. So that way you're always in the know. So there's also the news outlets. Almost everybody has a Facebook page now. Once you're following the page, you'll get updates, notifications as to what's happening.
Indeed.
All right. So this has been a very wonderful, it feels very short, though I can't believe it's already time to end, but it has been a wonderful Let's Connect program tonight. I want to thank you once again, Senator, for joining us. It has been a pleasure and you're welcome back anytime. I would
Thank
love to
you.
have you again, hopefully maybe in studio in person.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand with the time and you being all the way in the north and we're being in Sufre, but we love technology for the fact that it can bring us together in this way. So I want to thank
Mm-hmm.
you once again for being here with us. And until next time, I want to say good night to all our listeners. Good night to all of you on 88.5 Sufre FM. Those of you on YouTube, those of you on Facebook. Thanks very well. Thanks very much for being in here with us. And good night.
Good night.
COVID-19 has changed. COVID-19 has changed education. Let us take on the challenge head on. This changing situation calls to attention a new orientation. Parents, students, teachers, we are all in together.
Students, your education is your responsibility.
Parents, be closer and more